Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast with your host, Lorna Poole, sharing the secrets to creating wealth, investing, and that all-important money mindset. To find out more and accelerate your journey to financial freedom, head on over to www.lornapoole.com to get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Financial Freedom Podcast. Money, it's a big issue, and a lot of people do not know what to do with it, how to do with it. They don't understand the literature around it. So my guest expert today, her name is Tammy, and she's going to talk about why money concepts are not taught in school and why they should be. She has an extensive corporate industry experience in auditing, business valuations, business development, and healthcare operations for the past 25 years. Tammy has served on 2 different board of directors and has published 2 award-winning books. Tammy Guns has a master's in arts, health service administration, and accountancy. Tammy is also an international keynote speaker, and her mission is to stamp out financial illiteracy so that all people can live a life of their dreams. Tammy, great to have you here.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be on the show and to be able to talk about important money concepts, yes, that are not taught in school at all.
Isn't it amazing what, as an adult, when you get out of school, a lot of the things you're taught in school, I'm not using. And, there's a lot of life skills that we could be learning and using. And one of them is definitely money. Nobody teaches you, wouldn't it help the government if we all knew how to make our own money, how to invest our own money? The more I study financial freedom, the more it's very accessible to everybody. And a lot of people are kept ignorant and they don't know this. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on, what money concepts will be good and why aren't we being taught this right now?
Sure. Well, so there are some really key, there's 3 money concepts. I mean, there's multiple, but the 3 I want to bring up today for your listeners is that one is called the Rule of 72. One is called the time value of money. And then the other one is compound interest. Now, why do I bring these 3 up?
They're 3 massive, they're 3 core.
Yes, they're absolutely core. And most people have probably heard of compound interest or maybe time value of money. But the one that I run across where people don't know is the Rule of 72. Mm-hmm. And let me just give you a really quick example. And if once you know something, your behavior can change. And so the Rule of 72 basically says that if you take the number 72 and you divide by the interest rate, and that's how often your money would double. So let's just do really easy math. So if you take 72 and you were earning, say, 1% on savings that you have in a bank account or a CD or something, it would take 72 years for that money to double. And so therefore, it's like you're putting money away, but that's almost somebody's entire lifetime waiting for that dollar to turn into $2. However, if you were to borrow money, let's say you had a credit card and the bank lent you money, unsecured debt, at 17%. If you use that same Rule of 72 and you take 72 divided by 17, now you're talking that the bank gets to double their money every 4.2 years, but you're waiting pretty much your entire lifetime to double your money. So to me, that's a really simple concept that goes to show how if we are borrowing money, especially like on credit cards, in order to make ends meet versus trying to save money, it's such a lopsided disparity that the banks have over people. And so to understand that rule would make you really think twice about how you're spending money so that you're not going into debt. The other thing too is that if people were to understand, I've got kids that are, I've got one still in college and one graduating from college. And if you understood the time value of money, and if you can put money away now, like my daughter who just graduated with her master's degree, if she were to save just for a few years now for retirement, she could stop saving for retirement and end up probably even having as much as I have in retirement because I didn't start saving until later on. So it's one of those things that this can work in your favor. Now, I can't tell you why the schools are not teaching this because to me it's so core. If the rest of us understood money, we would basically have the power back in our own court versus giving the power away to, say, those credit card companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Back to the 72 rule. I just want to go through these. So 72 rule, why 72? Why does that work?
Well, it's the rule that it's just basically the mathematical concept that will work into how often it takes to double your money. And so it's just a real simple rule. Now, it's not exact. It's just kind of gives you an estimate of understanding. And actually, what's even more interesting is that if you take 72, and right now, banks don't even give you 1% on your savings. They give you more like 0.09%. Now you're talking 800 years. If you take 72 and you divide by 0.09, it's going to take 800 years for your money to double. And at least in the United States, I know you're over in Ireland, but in the United States, we have over $10 trillion sitting in these, either non-interest bearing accounts or very low interest bearing accounts. And so you can see why banks do quite well. And this really was brought to light for me when as you mentioned in your intro, I have a master's degree in accounting as well as health service administration. And I've married those two degrees together in my life work. And just the last couple of years, I was traveling back and forth to the state of Maine, which is on the East Coast in the United States. And I was going to a pretty depressed community. And a lot of the manufacturing and a lot of the work that was there had actually gone overseas, and so the community was quite depressed as far as a social economic situation. But can I tell you, the only two things that were being built in the 2 years I traveled back and forth were two brand new banks. I mean, that should be so obvious. Why is it that in a depressed community, no new building is going on, but two brand new banks were being built? And it's because of this disparity in the rule of 72 between what we earn and what we borrow.
Yeah. And that can work opposite to you. So if you're investing and say you're earning 20% interest or 8% interest, I think the general rule is at 8%, just to include inflation. Things might change after coronavirus. That can give you a sort of an estimate of where you're at if you're building a net worth, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so you stated that beautifully in that this can work in our favor, which is why it's so important to be able to save money. And I work with clients quite a bit, and it's interesting. Like a lot of people will say, I have no more money. I promise you I have no money to save. And when we go over their finances, we find really small ways that they're spending money that necessarily they could be saving it instead. Things like subscriptions. There's a lot of subscriptions they don't even use, and they're hitting their credit card every month. Or even that small thing, like on their way to work, they'll go to their favorite coffee shop and spend $5 on a latte. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't, you should enjoy your life. There's a balance there. But if you're doing that all of the time, you're spending quite a bit of money. In fact, $5 a day over the average work week, Monday through Friday, over a year is $1,300 for the year spent just on your morning coffee. And so instead, you could be investing that money. So that morning cup of coffee costs you way more than $5 when you look at it.
Oh, absolutely. And it shocks me. And I know myself, and I want to get to the time value just quickly here. I know myself, I'm doing this later, and I don't know what your relationship is like with your kids, but do they listen? Are they putting the money away? Because this time value is huge. And I'd love you to chat more about that and why that is so important and how that works.
Yes. So the best time to start saving money is always now. Now, we can't change the past, right? None of us can go back and change and start saying, gosh, I wish I would have started saving earlier. Right now is the power of now, right? This is the only time we have to start actually putting money away. So the best time to start saving money is always now. And the reason why is, let's go through a really simple example. In that if you were to put money away, we call it it's kind of like the $1 million baby concept. If you were to put away just $13,000 for your say a child, a son, daughter at birth, and now let's just assume for this argument's sake, 6.5% interest rate. At age 67, that child would have $1 million. That's called the $1 million baby. And now, if you were to wait, let's just say you waited until the child was 18, now they're heading off to college, and you put that same $13,000 away at 6.5% interest rate, at 67, the child would have $311,000. So now you're talking about 1/3 the value just by waiting 18 years to put that $13,000 away. So the time value of money and the compounding of interest will always work in your favor. So again, you should get this through your head mantra. The best time to start saving is now. The best time to start saving is now. Now, you also don't have to necessarily, a lot of people think, well, I don't have a lot of money to put away. Consistent saving is good as well. So instead of having that, say, that $1 million baby of putting $13,000 away when they're born, let's say you put $2,500 away when they're born, and then you put another $250 a month away for the child for the next 4 years. You're still going to come up with that $1 million. So there's a consistency, once that child is 67 and earning at that 6.5% assumption for our example. So the point is, don't think you have to have big chunks of money to put away. It's consistency. Whatever you can consistently put away will always benefit you.
One, if I had a child and I invested for her, but she doesn't care because she hasn't put the blood, sweat, and tears into it, will they value it?
Well, no, I mean, that's a good question too, right? There is certainly something about that, but you can be teaching your children about that, and I'm not necessarily.
I agree.
And one of the things I always talk to is people need to take care of themselves first. It's kind of like when you're on the airplane and they always say, if you have a child, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And that's true with investing. If you are not properly set up for retirement with the amount of money that you need, you should not be, again, saving for your kids, because again, they've got time value money working in their favor. They can start, saving once they have that capacity. You should always make sure that you're taking care of first. Put that oxygen mask on yourself.
And what about somebody's 50 or 60 and they're close to retirement and they don't have the time value? What do you say to them?
Well, it's never too late. Another thing that people can do is, if you can't decrease your expenses, perhaps you could increase your income. I know of some professionals that will get a side gig because they'll say, okay, I don't have enough money put away, but, I've got a few extra hours a week. I can do some of these gig jobs. And then they take that full amount and they'll place it, into savings. So it's never too late. I mean, obviously it's always going to be easier if you're younger and you start saving money, but don't ever think that you're out of the game. Now, in the United States, we have something called Social Security, and the later that people are eligible to take it, starting at the age of 62, it helps with part of the retirement. But if people wait till they're 70 to take it, they're going to end up having more money. So you have to look at, how am I going to possibly fund my permanent vacation? So I know different countries around the world have, different social systems or governmental systems, but you don't ever really want to rely on that. Again, we always want to have the power ourselves and keep the power, that way you're not giving your power away and just praying your government pays you.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And as you say, if kids were taught this, what an amazing outcome it would be for your country, for the world, for people being able to stand on their own 2 feet and probably happier. I don't understand why it's not a no-brainer.
Well, exactly, because you cannot do what you don't know, right? If you just don't know something, to me, this is removing the veil. When the veil is removed and you can see, you go, wow, that's okay. This is important. I need to start saving. What can I do? And then you'll find that your $5 habit of coffee or your whatever, your $10 habit of going to lunch is costing you way more than that $5 or $10. It could be costing you later in life where you have to work longer. Now, again, there's people who absolutely love their careers and they're not going to retire just for the sake of retiring. They actually enjoy working. But, for most people, they want to be able to have, some time towards the end of their life where they're not working. So, again, we really it's about having the light shown on it so that you're not in the dark. The more that you know something, the more that you can change your behavior.
Absolutely. I love it. And what about, so we talked about time value, we talked about the 72 rule and compound. Why is compound such a biggie?
Well, actually, Albert Einstein said that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, right? Because we talk about, isn't that funny? They teach the seven wonders of the world in school, but they don't, Albert Einstein believes the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. And again, it's because of the fact that you're earning interest on your interest. So Rockefeller, who was he made a lot of money, and he grew up poor, but he learned about the compound interest when he had lent a farmer some money. Now, this was a long time ago, like $50, I think he had lent this farmer that he had saved up, and he received compound interest. Well, he found out that by literally doing nothing but letting that money sit in the bank, he earned more on the interest of the loan that he lent to somebody else that he did toiling in the fields and working hard labor. So again, compound interest is nice in that you're going to earn interest not only on the first, the principal, but you're earning interest on the interest. So it ends up, again, making your money grow so much faster when you put together the compound interest as well as the time value of money.
Yeah, I love that because, if you put these three together, right? So you're given time value, okay? Now, it's the 72 rule of looking at how you're doubling your money. That's looking at the bigger picture, right?
Yeah, it is. What it does is it just kind of, to me, it's almost like an aha moment. Most people don't even know what the rule of 72 is. I mean, you can go do a poll on the street, ask 10 people or whatever. I doubt anybody knows what it is. But what it does is, to me, it's like, it's huge in that you're able to understand how fast your money can double and how even a 1% difference in interest rate can make a huge difference over time. And sometimes people go, oh, what does it matter? It's,
Mm-hmm. So somebody, right, the time value and the compound's working. But if we look at the 72 rule and we just add another percent or 3% or whatever, you can really see the difference in the money you'll have at the end. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Makes a huge difference. So don't think that a 1% difference in interest rate is very little. No, it makes a huge difference in
because it's compounded, because the interest is working on the interest.
Absolutely. You stated it perfectly. Yes. And with the coronavirus, that's another thing where nobody really expected the world to be shut down, overnight. Most people were, at least in the United States, kind of living paycheck to paycheck. And so when you assume that the next paycheck is there, you're like, okay, I'm strong, I'm willing, I'm able, I can go to work. So they never really thought about saving because they just figured they could go out and earn some more money. Well, at least in the United States, I'd have to look at the new number because it changes every day. We had 43 million people apply for unemployment in our country. So that's a lot of people. It actually is around the depression levels that happened around the turn of the other century. And so, when people were not prepared, because they always thought, well, I can work. Well, who knew something like COVID-19 was going to come about and stop our ability to work? And so, again, most people did not have what was called, having an emergency fund to be able to pay their immediate expenses until they can get the cash flowing again.
But this is why it needs to be in school because, these concepts have been around for the ages, but the majority of people are not practicing them.
No, they're not. And I would say most people just don't know them. But then I would also say people just didn't think, oh, that won't happen to me. I can't imagine. I've been on this planet for 55 years. COVID-19, who knew that it would shut the world down? Who knew that even though you can and you are able to work, you can't find a job. So how are you going to pay your rent or your mortgage or put food on the table? So there's the importance of having an emergency fund that you can dip into so you're not panicking. I feel it's very sad how many people are now falling into depression and anxiety because they don't know how they're going to pay for their, things for their families.
But isn't that the opportunity from the coronavirus? Because there's a silver lining in all negativity, all like bad things that happen in our life is that, okay, we got ourselves in a bad place. What can we do differently so that we don't end up in this place again?
Okay, yes. Can I tell you that's exactly what I'm hearing from all of my clients, and for people are far more open to hearing this message because now they're like, this is a reality, right? The fact that something could happen that could abruptly stop my paycheck or my cash flow from coming in. And so, yes, people are far more, in fact, I'm being asked a lot to be on a lot of different podcasts. You know, my schedule's quite busy to talk about this because of the fact that people are willing to listen because they don't want to be caught. You're right. There's always a silver lining. And the silver lining is people are far more apt to listen to this message and open to hearing it now.
Love it. Tammy, we've had an amazing conversation. For anyone listening to this today, the schools, just someone as an individual, and I just love the way you've put it into just 3 things that are so important. You know, even if somebody today listened to this, took one action, you know, and thought about, right, I could put away a regular, you know, amount of money, even if it's only $10. I mean, you'd be surprised how once you start, you know, making the moves, what happens. What's the kind of one thing you want to leave the listeners with?
Well, number one is don't beat yourself up, okay? Because I think sometimes people will almost play the ostrich in the sand, is they don't even want to look at it because then they feel bad. And don't do that. I mean, believe me, there's many people in these same situations. And again, like I said, the best time to start saving is now. So please don't beat yourself up about the past. Give yourself grace. Please look at your finances and, you know, and start to make those changes today.
Love it. Thank you, Tammy. This has been amazing. And you have a free gift for our listeners. And tell people how we can find out more about you or find out how to reach out to you.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So my business email is literally my name. It's tammylynguns@gmail.com, which is just TAMMYLYNNGUNS@gmail.com. Or people can also call me on my business line, which is for area code 1-303-301-4231. And if people reach out to me, I'm more than happy to send them a free copy of a book, which is basically teaching people how money works. I did not write the book, but I give it to all of my clients because it's beautifully written. You can go through the book in like an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's very simple, and it really does some nice teaching of money concepts.
What's the name of it?
It's How Money Works.
Ah, lovely. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you for being here. This has been I'm excited to share this because I think everybody will get a lot from this.
Well, thank you. It's been great talking to you.
Hey, everyone. Remember to join us in the Private Financial Freedom Podcast Facebook group with me, your host, Lorna Poole. This is a safe haven of like-minded wealth-getting go-getters who, like you, are on their journey to creating financial freedom in their life. This is where you and I can get intimate. I can give you the support and guidance to go from where you are now to where you want to be, developing your wealth mindset and creating your financial freedom life. Join at www.facebook.com/groups The Financial Freedom Podcast. You will see the links to this on the website. It's in the show notes, or type it into the Facebook group. All you have to type in is Financial Freedom Podcast and you will see us there. Look forward to seeing you in the group. Take care. Thank you for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast to creating wealth, investing, and developing your money mindset. To get started today on your journey, head on over to www.lornapoole.com and grab your free course, 5 Steps to Breaking Free from Your Poverty Mindset and Accelerating Your Journey to Financial Freedom. See you there.